This video is really just a quick chat about why I lost my twins. And part of it's a rant, but mainly just explaining the medical stuff, what happened. Mainly because I feel like if I had known what I'm about to tell you, I don't know for a fact I would have lost my twins. So I think I'm just sharing the info for those people that need it. You know, I could not imagine this happening to someone else. It's awful. So this is pretty much why I lost my twins, and I'm just putting information out there. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not medical anything. This is just my experience and what I learned along the way, and then what I learned afterwards. So let's get started here. I got pregnant through IVF, which most of you know. After IVF was successful and I found out, I got my beta or whatever and found out I was definitely expecting, I was going in weekly to see my RE for scans. And what they were checking for weekly was growth from the babies. So the first week I went in, I found out I was having twins. There was the big shocker. But the next week, they wanted to make sure that they were growing appropriately every week. So I did that up until about 11 weeks, and then during that 11 weeks, sorry, I just got a phone message. During that 11 weeks, I was taking progesterone suppositories, and those were pretty much just to make sure, because I have PCOS, make sure that my progesterone levels were high enough up to sustain the pregnancy and not have an early miscarriage. At that point, after the 11 weeks, they released me to go to an OB. I did some research and stuff to try to pick the OB that I wanted. I'll tell you now, my biggest concern with picking an OB was to find one who, just because I was having twins, who didn't want to push me into doing a C-section and stuff like that. My biggest concern was to try to do things naturally. And also I was concerned with mainly just doing natural things. I wasn't so concerned about twins in general. I know it's considered a high-risk pregnancy. I just wasn't concerned about that. That was my first mistake, I'll tell you that much. If you're having twins, treat it as a high-risk pregnancy, and definitely find someone who maybe has some knowledge of twin pregnancies, has dealt with twin pregnancies, and someone who maybe has dealt with twin issues. Because I ended up getting a doctor who, in the end, maybe didn't have a lot of experience dealing with twins, and was a wait and see, let's do everything natural kind of guy. That's what I wanted at the time, but now that I know what I know, that's not what I needed. So that was my first mistake, is when I picked my doctor after leaving my RE, I picked the wrong guy. He's a good doctor, he's an okay doctor, he just wasn't the right doctor for me in my situation. So that was the issue initially. My pregnancy from there on, really there were no issues, which was great. I mean, after we reached the 12 or 13 week mark, I mean, we were over the moon because there were no issues. Our babies kept growing. There was just nothing happening. And honestly, we felt like we were in the clear. And I didn't worry. I had honestly, I had a great pregnancy. I didn't worry about things. I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed my pregnancy. Everything was great. So, where things started going wrong. At 18 weeks, I went in for my ultrasound. No issues on my ultrasound. Babies were growing great. We found out we were having a boy and a girl. At that appointment, he recommended that I go see the maternal fetal specialist because of the twins. So that's good on his part. Again, I probably, if I'd picked a different doctor, he probably would have had me go sooner than this. So he recommended me to go to the specialist. I called the specialist office. They usually see you at 20 weeks. So again, that's probably something that I should have been seen way sooner than 20 weeks. Bless you, that's my dog. Because it's a high risk twin pregnancy, I should have been seen sooner, but I was trusting my doctors. And I had an appointment to go see the specialist 20 weeks and, let's see, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 5 days, almost 21 weeks was when I was going to go see them. However, I never made the appointment. I never made it to the appointment that I made. Because, if you watched my previous 2 videos, at 20 weeks and 2 days, I started having, 20 weeks and 1 day technically, I started having back pain, low back pain. I didn't think much about it. Plus, I had been seeing it, and that's exactly what was happening. The whole time, I had no idea that I was in labor for days, almost. And the reason why is because I have incompetent cervix. I know this now. Incompetent cervix often causes you to dilate, and I'd probably been dilating for days prior to this, before the back pain started. It causes your cervix to dilate without any pain. It just opens up. Well, eventually it opened up enough to start labor, which is what the lower back pain and the contractions and all of that was. There was nothing I could do. My cervix was shortening and no one caught it. The doctor never caught it. The doctor wasn't even measuring my cervix the entire time of my pregnancy. And more than likely, when I had gone to the maternal fetal appointment, they would have. I just didn't make it. I didn't make it in time. They put me on bed rest. Bed rest often helps for incompetent cervix. So that was my plan at the time. They said to not, after I delivered my daughter, obviously my cervix is wide open. They decided against doing cerclage for infection reasons, which I still agree with. That makes sense. I had just given birth to my baby, so bed rest was probably the best bet. But after a week of bed rest, I started having the back pains again. So I went back in. They checked my cervix. It was 2.4, if I remember right, which is way less than what they want it to be. I went back onto bed rest. I wasn't having any contractions or anything, but a few days later, the back pain started getting bad, and I started having contractions. And when they measured my cervix again, it had shortened from the 2.4 to, I believe it was 1.3, if I remember right. So it was just, the bed rest wasn't working by itself. By itself, it was not working. And they tried to put a cerclage in where they stitched my cervix up to try to keep it closed. Because at this point, I had given birth a good week and a few days prior. So the risk of infection was a little bit lower. They put that in, but they could not stop my contractions. It was kind of too late, unfortunately. And my doctor gave me a variety of medications to try to stop my contractions. Stop. And most of them didn't work. The only one that worked was Procardia. It finally gave me some relief. However, he started me at a high dose and then tried to lower me off of it. And when he started lowering me off of it, the contractions came back. I specifically asked him if he would please raise the dose. He said no. It wasn't many hours later that my boy's water broke, and I had to give birth to him. So in the end, it was all incompetent cervix. My rant is this. I found out not only from my main doctor, but I've talked to my reproductive endocrinologist recently. And I've looked online, and the whole consensus in the whole entire world is they never check for incompetent cervix. They only check if you've already lost a baby, or if you've already had issues with incompetent cervix and maybe you had to be on bed rest. I don't understand that. I don't understand why they don't check it when you first get pregnant, especially if you have twins. I mean, I knew I had twins this whole entire time, and they never bothered to check for it. They never checked my cervical length. They never checked any of those things. Because this is my first pregnancy, I never had, any indication of any issues. I had nothing to compare it to. But in the medical world, they just don't check it. They don't check it unless you've already had issues. If they had checked it, maybe they could have saved my babies. Maybe they could have saw that it was slowly shrinking, and they could have done something before I lost my little girl. But in the medical world, they just don't do it. They don't. Now, if I get pregnant again, then they know what to do. They know how to check me. They know what to look for. But that may never happen. So, that's pretty much my issue is, ladies, if you're pregnant with twins, and you've never have any incompetent cervix issues, please ask your doctor to check your cervical length. Please have them check it maybe every time you go in. If there's no issues, great, you have nothing to worry about. But if you see shortening, then they can do something to prevent you losing your babies, or even prevent you possibly from getting on bed rest. Maybe not on the bed rest, but you might be able to keep your babies. Okay, that's it. So, I'm doing okay. I've lost my baby, so it's as good as it's going to get right now. There's some things that I've been using for coping techniques. Not that I'm coping great, but I'm doing the best I can. And I definitely would like to talk about those in the next video, and talked about a few projects I've been working on. Again, they're just coping techniques partially, but I've also ran across a few ideas that I like. Now that I'm a grieving mother, I look at things a little differently. So yeah, I'd like to share those with you, maybe in the next video. I appreciate everybody's kind thoughts. Everything everybody says is very wonderful. A couple people have mentioned doing like a is it called GoFundMe or something, fundraiser. We actually already have one set up. I may post it. It's kind of funny because it's one of those things where, obviously you would appreciate and use the money for the right thing, but I also don't want to be out begging for money at the same time. It's like a double-edged sword. So I might post it. I don't know. I mean, I feel I would definitely appreciate anyone's help or anything like that. We don't have a lot of money. I'm saving my money definitely to try to do something to fill our arms. But it's gonna be a while, so I've never been shy. Like I said, I had a family member that donated money for us to do our IVF, and I really appreciate that. Even though what happened, that changed my world. It really did. So yeah, I feel like I might post the link. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. It's kind of I don't want to beg for money, pretty much. Okay.